The grand cultivation sanctuary under the imperial court, Homogen Zhonghanyi, had long symbolized power and prestige. A lone figure meditated, drawing in heaven and earth's spiritual energy as if devouring the cosmos. That was Tu Changsheng, heaven's favored son, eldest of the prince's line, blessed with noble blood and peerless sword talent. Beside him stood two opposites, one outwardly polite but sycophantic, the other arrogant and born proud of his gifts. Suddenly, someone drew his sword and loudly denied Tu Changsheng's worth and status. He accused Tu of stealing his fortune and called him unworthy of the sect. Before anyone could react, the attacker lunged forward in a flash like lightning. He claimed divine authority to purge evil on the spot. At that moment, Tu Changsheng was in deep enlightenment, but the chaos shattered his focus. His spiritual energy spiraled out of control, cracking his mind while disciples panicked. As killing intent surged, a strange light gathered in his hand, bursting brilliantly. The two nearby screamed in terror, realizing he had fallen into key deviation. His terrifying aura forced everyone back, faces pale with fear. When the light faded, he stood motionless, blood at his lips, causing cries of alarm. After a while, one brave soul stepped forward to check. The elder declared his sword force shattered, cultivation destroyed, his path ended. Time passed in heavy silence. At the prince's manor, Tu Changsheng awoke before a bronze mirror, eyes strange and unfamiliar. After a pause, he confirmed the impossible truth: he had entered this body. His mind reeled in despair and rage, unwilling to be reborn into a disgraced man. The host's memories returned, born at the top, blessed with glory and talent. Yet that privilege led him astray from the righteous path. The original owner was infamous for abusing power and stealing others' fortunes. He crushed anyone who might surpass him, in cultivation or contest alike. The cruel memories revealed that this body once belonged to a true villain. The harsh truth broke him, his name ruined, his life now prey for others. In despair, he tried to summon spiritual power, clinging to a sliver of hope. A faint glow flickered in his palm, sparking fragile faith that all wasn't lost. Yet the power soon faded, leaving cold, merciless reality behind. He realized his body was drained, his cultivation gone, helpless before danger. That thought barely formed when the door burst open with a crash. A sword-wielding woman appeared, her killing aura freezing the air. Cold sweat ran down his back, her intent was far from kind. When he saw her face, he froze in shock. Her beauty stirred a haunting sense of familiarity. Memories surfaced of a lofty maiden shining like moonlight. He was stunned as recognition dawned. She had been a heaven-blessed lady of the Zhao clan, bearer of pure spirit flame and unmatched talent. With such birth and brilliance, she'd once been betrothed to the prince's heir, her future bright as a dream. But disaster struck when her cultivation vanished overnight, turning the prodigy into a laughingstock. The cruelest blow came from her fiancé, who coldly sent a breakup letter. He declared she no longer deserved her noble status. That letter shattered her hope, driving her to the prince's manor. She was met only with humiliation and violence, cast out like a beggar. In utter despair, she stood at a cliff's edge, ready to end her life. At the brink of death, a hidden empress appeared and saved her. Under that guidance, the forsaken girl defied fate and was reborn as a terror to all. Returning to the empire, she stormed the prince's manor, turning her arrogant ex into a cultivation tool. Thus rose Chu Toya's feared name. He recalled this familiar plot where the dumped fiancé became fuel for the hero and heroine's rise. But his smirk faded as the name Chu Toyu sparked a chilling dread. A dreadful realization hit: he was the scum who once wrote that breakup letter, now awaiting her revenge. Just then, a cold verdict rang out, a sword's tip pressed against his throat. He felt his empty body and knew any struggle or plea meant death. The blade halted just shy of ending him. She suddenly asked why he didn't dodge. He met her eyes, defiant outwardly, yet inwardly broken, admitting he was useless. She pressed closer, coldly asking if he thought she wouldn't strike. In the height of tension, tears fell as her loneliness spilled out. Those soft words shook his very soul. Seeing a brief opening, he grabbed the blade barehanded. Blood poured, yet he held firm, swearing everything he did came from love for her. His words stunned her, her expression faltering in shock. She stammered, unable to believe what she'd heard. Memory stirred despite his cruelty, he had never lied. Just as doubt wavered, servants called urgently for the prince outside. As she prepared to end it all, he suddenly spoke to stop her. The door burst open, shattering the tense silence. A servant barged in, witnessing a scene fit to make anyone blush. Before him, the two were entwined suspiciously close, while Tu Changsheng calmly scolded the intruder, claiming he was on a date with his fiancée, leaving Chu Toyu stunned. The servant apologized profusely, respectful outside but mocking them inside. Once the door closed, Tu Changsheng sighed, while Chu Toya's gaze lingered, his words echoing in her mind. She stared long, asking if those words of love were true. Under the quiet moon, he turned solemn, affirming without hesitation. His conviction shook her, yet reopened old wounds and questions of his cruelty. Coldly, she recounted every shameful act, making him sweat with fragmented guilt. Her eyes turned icy as she blamed him for the heartless breakup that scarred her soul. But his sudden question about her post-breakup cultivation surge made her pale. He didn't explain directly, but hinted that her dreams and changes had a cause. Her heart trembled as past memories and strange dreams resurfaced, sowing doubt within her. He deliberately kept an air of mystery, hiding the true secret behind it all. At that moment, the hidden empress within the ring began to take interest in the youth. His voice grew calm and deep as he gently spoke of balance and reversal. With soothing words and empathy, he subtly pushed the sword from his neck, dissolving her killing intent. Years of bottled pain burst forth as she screamed through tears, pouring out 3 years of anguish. Seeing her collapse, Tu Changsheng embraced her, promising protection to mend her shattered heart. Inside, he soberly reminded himself that playing this role well was the only way to survive. She was stunned by his sincerity, torn between belief and fear, while he vowed never to deceive again. He hinted that upon his return, a hidden presence would soon appear, leaving her confused. Still feigning wisdom, he refused to elaborate, saying all doubts would soon clear. Despite her suspicion, his gaze and words moved her, and she chose to believe once more. Before leaving, she pointed her sword again, warning that betrayal meant death. Without another word, she turned away, carrying both hatred and fragile hope. Alone, Tu Changsheng collapsed, relieved to have survived by inches. His guards arrived, bewildered by the strange scene, while he surprisingly apologized for his earlier harshness. The apology struck them like thunder. They could believe their ears. Seeing their confusion, he brushed it off, while they fretted that the prince had somehow changed completely. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to the Zhou manor. On her way back, she ignored the whispers, vowing coldly that if deceived again, she'd end him herself. Reaching her room, she found her maids prepared and ordered everyone to leave silently. With the door closed, she sat in the bath to meditate, faint spiritual waves flickering as she placed her last faith in Tu Changsheng. Staring blankly into space, she called out to the long-silent senior. Only silence replied, stirring that old feeling of abandonment. Rage boiled as she cursed the deceit, swearing that if betrayed, she'd drag him into death with her. Just as killing intent peaked, a voice echoed in her mind warning that extremity leads to ruin, and it came from the ring. A dazzling light flared in her palm. From that glow emerged a white-robed woman, revealing her identity and admitting Tu Changsheng had long seen through her. The girl demanded to know why her cultivation had been stripped. The woman calmly replied it was all for her sake. Hearing that Tu Changsheng had sensed everything and acted along, her heart wavered with doubt and emotion. The white-robed woman observed that the youth's strength and cunning far exceeded common measure. All misunderstanding cleared, she realized he had deceived her feelings. The woman introduced herself as Bai Zhenzhu, tasked with aiding descendants to awaken the heavenly emperor's bloodline. She directly imparted supreme arts and ancient secrets, guiding the true path to bloodline awakening and core formation. In contrast, at the Chu clan's council, elders openly scorned her and urged abandoning Chu Toyu to support another. The clan head remained calm yet firm, declaring his daughter's affairs were none of their concern. The grand elder pressed on, using her visit to the prince's manor to smear the family's honor. Another mocked that she fancied herself worthy of the crippled Tu Changsheng, utterly absurd. Amid the echoing laughter, the rear courtyard suddenly shook violently as spiritual power surged. A breakthrough was happening. A pillar of green light tore through the sky, covering the Zhao estate in divine radiance. The source was none other than Chu Taiya's chamber. Chu Hui was stunned to find the 18-year-old had entered the core formation realm, her talent now legendary and fate completely reversed. Her father's eyes blazed with pride, as if rediscovering a lost treasure. The dormant phoenix had finally risen. Cheers erupted as the clans celebrated their dawning golden age. Emerging from seclusion, Tuyu radiated stability and sharpness, like an arrow loosed from the bow. Yet when the flattery turned to belittling Tu Changsheng, the mood grew awkward. At the words cripple, she immediately retorted, declaring Tu Changsheng her benefactor and only acknowledged husband. Everyone froze, unable to grasp her sudden resolve. She ended calmly but firmly, saying their love was one of mutual sincerity. The next morning, the scene shifted to the two residents. A group shadowed Tu Changsheng closely, tensioned as if escorting a criminal. Watched from dawn till dusk just to eat, he silently lamented his pitiful fate. Inside, no one dared speak until the prince anxiously asked the steward how to counsel his son. He feared that mishandling things might trigger chaos, given his son's ruined sword body and temper. As confusion lingered, Tu Changsheng himself broke the silence. Rising calmly, he thanked everyone politely and asked to retire, a composure no one believed real. His words shocked the entire household, from servants to the prince, as if witnessing a miracle. The prince, worried yet gentle, reassured him, vowing the manor would always protect him. Tu Changsheng then reflected bitterly, realizing his family's pride only bred disgust, and he admitted his own arrogance. Outwardly calm but cold in tone, he advised his elders not to overindulge small faults lest they grow into ruin. The courtyard fell silent as his father, stunned, dropped what he held, unable to believe such wisdom came from his son. Before they recovered, a maid rushed in with urgent news, accidentally spilling boiling water toward him. Before she could react, he moved swiftly, shielding her from the burn. His robe soaked and cup shattered, he still gently asked if she was hurt. The witnesses were stunned. The one's sacral hair now protected others. Trembling, the maid apologized, but he softly reassured her, dismissing his wet clothes as nothing. In that instant, her whole perception shattered. This man was nothing like the monster she'd heard of. Blushing, she fled in confusion while he wondered why such a small mishap flustered her so. The prince approached curiously, and he replied calmly that such actions were simply proper conduct, leaving his father even more puzzled. Then he departed quietly like the wind, leaving his father dazed that such normal decency now felt miraculous. As night fell, Tu Changsheng leisurely read ancient texts until a familiar voice called from outside. Without turning, he already knew the visitor's identity and invited them in. A graceful beauty entered, respectfully reporting that the task entrusted to her had been completed. While sipping tea, Changen sized her up, admitting her legendary title was well-earned and guessing her change in tone came from the Empress influence. Seeing his calm, all-knowing demeanor, Toyu suspected he understood Bai Dai deeply and that his personal tea service hinted at affection. She approached cautiously calculating her next move, while he tactfully avoided asking about her realm, opting for indirect probing. He tested her with vague words, hoping she'd reveal her strength, all while recalling his own monstrous progress and wondering if she surpassed him. Blushing, Tu confessed she'd barely reached core formation, fearing she'd disappointed him. Hearing this, Tu Changsheng's heart shook. Breaking through overnight was enough to drive others mad with envy. Outwardly steady, he offered mild praise but inwardly noted her heaven-defying fortune and vowed not to lag behind. Sitting opposite him, her eyes firm, she spoke with guilt and determination, believing she'd let him down. Tuyu boldly proposed they reunite as husband and wife for guidance, and to block any other women brushing his cheek possessively as she spoke. He froze, but his mind turned pragmatic. Marrying her might just be the road to ascension. Suddenly his vision darkened, the world around him vanished. He guessed it was a vision revealing the future should he accept her offer. Before him played an overly intimate scene where he was utterly dominated by Toya's passionate control. The images continued dialogues laced with desire and domination until he realized he was completely subdued. Years flashed by as he grew frail, drained under her obsessive care, waking in terror that submission meant ruin. When she softly asked for his promise, he hesitated, seeking a way out. The vision flipped again, showing another fate if he refused. In grim darkness, he hung bound and hollow-eyed, doomed to an even worse end. Tuyu appeared with a whip and a chillingly seductive smile, declaring the night had only begun. She vowed that if he rejected her, they'd die together in endless torment. Again, the sight of his shriveled, wasted body returned. Horrified, he realized refusal would be an even grimmer fate than submission. Pressed for an answer, he understood he was trapped in her design. No advance, no retreat. Under her icy gaze, he sighed and countered with a question, setting a new gambit in motion. Coldly, he voiced disappointment, planning to twist his words to mislead and escape. Striding away, he left Toyu calling after him, while he chided her with lofty rhetoric for not grasping his lessons. As she clung in desperation, he spoke detachedly of the gap between the eternal and the mortal. She froze, shaken by talk of immortality, recalling that even celestial lords succumb to time. Her thoughts spiraled. If he truly transcended life and death, he might hold the key to shattering cultivation limits. Casting aside resentment, she earnestly sought guidance on her disharmony with Bai Dai's legacy, leaving him awkward inside but serene outside. Without clear explanation, he said distantly that the Dao's path is endless, and every legacy is but a beginning. That outlook moved her, realizing even emperors had never reached the end of the Dao. Worried, she asked what to do if she failed halfway. He firmly promised she wouldn't fall while he lived, though inside, he calculated his own survival. When he admitted her death would likely drag him down too, it stopped being an act, it was blood-tinged truth. His words unsettled her, making her question what immortality truly meant. In sudden clarity, she seemed reborn, eyes blazing with comprehension. As understanding dawned, a powerful tremor erupted within her. True enlightenment. Spiritual power exploded skyward, shattering buildings and forming a beam that pierced the heavens. From afar, countless cultivators gaped. Another core formation aura, surely Chu Toya's breakthrough. In the Chu estate, news that the young lady reached mid-core overnight shocked all, sparking rumors centered on Tu Changsheng. Alone, Tu side heaven favored her. His own 20 years of toil still hadn't broken one barrier. Overjoyed, Tuyu embraced him in gratitude, while he stood dazed, unsure what wisdom had supposedly shared. She vowed to ascend as an emperor for his sake, and he exiled in relief, alive for now. Soon she departed, leaving only ripples of awe behind. On her way, Bai Dai asked what she'd comprehended. Tuyu smiled. Love itself had helped her surpass the legacy. With that thought, her resolve to meet Tu's expectations burned brighter. Left alone, Tu reclined with a sigh, knowing the danger was eased, not ended. Suddenly, he felt spiritual energy circulating in his hand again. Realizing his cultivation was returning, he was stunned. Joy burst forth as he confirmed he could train once more. Yet his mind shuddered, as if a new script had been forced inside. A cultivation manual appeared in his thoughts, a Bai Dai technique to restore his sword body. He frowned. Such a reward had never appeared before. Then he understood it was a side effect of Toya's breakthrough. The next morning, the clan head questioned subordinates about rumors of dual cultivation, earning a slap from Tuyu as reply. The room buzzed. Many believed she'd fallen for Tu Changsheng, fearing for her reputation and the clan's balance. Some suspected Tu's crippled state was a ruse, hiding a vast secret, insisting the clan act first. They proposed sending Chu Zhai to investigate. He burned with fighting intent, vowing to make Tu kneel if he truly was useless. Meanwhile, at the Tu manor, an emergency council convened. Tu's uncle raged about the broken engagement, especially since the Chu heiress had reached mid-core formation. Tu's father, regretful and self-blaming, heard others suggest sacrificing his son to calm the storm. He flatly refused, unwilling to trade his child's life for peace. Just then, guards burst in with urgent news. Rumors swept the city that Tu wasn't crippled at all but served as Toya's spiritual vessel, fueling her rapid ascension. The hall erupted. Reports claimed Shed visited two manor openly, some even seeing their intimacy firsthand. Tu's father pieced the clues together, suspecting the recent energy anomaly came from Toyu and re-examining his son's supposed loss. Debate flared, some denied, others admitted Tu's behavior no longer matched a Cripple's. Rising, his father recalled the sword sect's confirmation that the sword body was indeed destroyed, making the mystery even knottier. A panicked servant reported that the Chu clan had arrived, demanding a Dao debate and duel with Tu Changsheng. The news stunned the entire Tu estate into silence. In stark contrast to the chaos outside, one room remained utterly calm. Tu meditated deeply, spiritual energy surging through him, realizing Baidu's divine art was powerful yet only a beginning. Checking his cultivation stabilized at Foundation Stage Tier 3, he rejoiced, no longer a cripple. Just then, a pure white crane landed on his window, radiating sacred omen-like light. It bore a jade letter and strange ring. One glance told him these were sent by his master. Holding them, inherited memories resurfaced. His teacher had long vanished from his life. He guessed that man once placed high hopes in him, only to be disappointed. Opening the letter, a projection of Xiao Wen, patriarch of the Supreme Sword Sect, appeared. This was a message for matters of life and death. The master spoke gravely, apologizing for failing to appear when Tu suffered and lost his cultivation, enduring humiliation for so long. The words shook Tu, and he silently blamed the original for not valuing such kindness. The master confessed he dared not meet but sent rare elixirs and the unclaimed eternal sword, prompting Tu to bow in gratitude. He warned these gifts could restore the body, but not erase old harm, urging humility, leaving Tu staring at the treasures in quiet awe. As Tu reflected, the master suddenly mentioned a shameful past event, then vanished, leaving him spiritually scarred. Tu nearly went mad, horrified that the original had once done something disgraceful even to his master. Shaking his head, he vowed to wield the sword honorably and not betray his master's faith. Feeling the sword's aura, he sensed its extraordinary origin and noted it had a safeguard only Toyu could fully awaken it. As he pondered, murmurs from outside reached his ears. A grand entourage had arrived before the Tu estate. An arrogant voice declared they brought a Zhou prodigy to challenge Tu Changsheng, accusing the prince of hiding. Tu's father's face darkened as he retorted, fully aware they came to provoke. The challenger sneered, saying refusal would mean forced combat. Amid the standoff, Tu strode out calmly, asking who sought to fight him. The provocateur stepped forward with open disdain. To read his intent clearly, to test whether he was truly crippled. Seeing Tu's silence, the opponent moved closer. He taunted loudly, but Tu replied coolly that the match was pointless. His father frowned, while the Zhao youth smirked, convinced Tu was indeed powerless. Before the laughter ended, Tu spoke with crushing authority, declaring the challenger would die, turning faces pale. Chu Ji fumed, pointing straight at him and demanding a duel. Tu smiled and accepted with ease. Alarmed, his father ordered someone to summon Elder Yang to prevent disaster. Soon both sides stood face to face atop a vast arena. Countless eyes fixed on the center, awaiting the outcome. Tu's father fretted his son's pride would doom him, while Elder Yang assured him the situation was under control. On stage, Chu Ji spat old grudges with venom, but Tu dismissed them, viewing him as a bully of the weak. Angered by the indifference, Chu Ji drew his mid-grade spirit sword, flaunting its superiority. Spectators whispered that his blade clearly outclassed Tu's unknown weapon, making comparison impossible. When asked to draw his sword, Changsheng casually said it wasn't necessary, he might kill his opponent too quickly. The taunt made Chu Ji roar, confident in his core formation level and sword mastery, with the crowd cheering along. He lunged forward instantly, killing intent blazing. Changsheng, gauging their realm difference, risked activating the hidden power in his sword from future memories. He inhaled deeply and unleashed a palm strike with fierce sword energy, making the blade shine violently. The sword wave clashed head-on, the seal broke open, and the blast sent Chu Ji flying, his spirit sword shattered midair. The arena fell utterly silent, every gaze frozen in shock. Murmurs erupted. Changsheng crushed his foe without even unsheathing his sword, shattering the cripple rumor. It was taken as a clever peace gesture. Even his father laughed approvingly, secretly proud of his son's cunning power. On the stage, he stood still as a statue, sword steady, calm under every scrutinizing eye. The girl's words froze the air, the crowd shuddering under invisible pressure. At peak tension, a high authority appeared, his cold shout shaking the arena. Witnesses panicked, insisting it was just a symbolic duel not yet decided. She declared sharply, killing aura intact, threatening to annihilate all who dared touch Changsheng. Facing chaos, Changsheng smiled gently, soothing everyone that it was mere training, nothing serious. He casually tossed the sword to her as a gift, a light yet loaded gesture that stunned the crowd. His reckless gifting of a rare weapon shocked everyone, while his father secretly beamed with pride. As Tuyu took the sword, she froze. Its strange familiarity made her feel it was destined for her. A mysterious being appeared, revealing it as a rare celestial artifact, moving Tuyu with guilt and awe. She tried to refuse, but he cut her off calmly, inwardly plotting that the deeper her debt, the harder she'd leave. The audience remained dumbstruck, minds blank from the whirlwind of events. When he turned back with a friendly greeting, calm as serving tea, confusion deepened. The crowd buzzed, unable to believe the once arrogant man now acted so oddly. Surely something big was coming. He advised Tuyu to rest. Elders hastily retreated, while she happily clung to him, leaving him baffled by her zeal. Her casual words got twisted into scandalous gossip, making outsiders panic and avoid them. Even the elders' gazes changed, realizing Changen had hidden depths. Truly, fate was unpredictable. Soon alone together, the tables turned. She made advances, and Changen panickedly refused. His rejection enraged her. Her eyes turned icy, while he sighed over her mercurial nature. Once resolved, her actions became even bolder. Seeing Changen soften, Tuyu's emotions surged, her words sweet and full of affection. At the climax, an old man passing by overheard, completely misunderstanding everything. Terrified, the elder believed the rumors were true. He rushed off to report, convinced the clan was doomed. Amid their confusion, a senior urgently intervened, warning of dire consequences if they crossed the line before breakthrough. After the stern words, Tuyu suddenly awakened, recalling her original cultivation goal. Tuyu gradually calmed down and asked Changen about a cultivation doubt. The sudden shift left Changen half amused, half relieved to have dodged bigger trouble. They sat to talk. She skipped small talk and went straight to the core issue within her body. Both fell silent, awaiting an answer. Changen already understood her condition. He suddenly acted, pulling her closer. Changen clearly explained she needed a strong life-nurturing treasure to heal her damaged body. His firm confirmation stunned Tuyu, and even the spirit guardian admitted Changen was a rare genius. She planned to seek the treasure, but Changen calmly revealed it was already within reach. The mentioned location shocked both her and the guardian's spirit. Gazing into the distance, Changen hinted the coming sacred tomb-tide of the 10 holy lands held the key clue. Under her pressing questions, he turned and gave a direct answer. Hearing the name Tai Shangjianzong, Tuyu's face changed. Changen softly said old matters couldn't be blamed, deepening her resolve to return there with him. Though smiling gently, Changen knew the journey was laden with grudges, and traveling with Tuyu was both reluctant and strategically safe. His slight nod of consent made Tuyu overjoyed. Her spiritual power surged wildly. A blue pillar of light tore the sky, signaling breakthrough. Changen laughed in disbelief at her insane progress speed. Outside the manor, servants gossiped chaotically about the omen, twisting the story into absurd rumors. After advancing her realm, Tuyu cheerfully took her leave, while Changen stayed to arrange clan affairs. In his sea of consciousness, the Baidi scripture unfolded like an endless spring, granting rare fortune. Changen entered meditation immediately, cultivating all night without rest. From that night on, he officially began deep cultivation. Bathing in the spring, Tuyu tried circulating energy but couldn't condense a spirit flower. Baijiu explained she hadn't entered the gate yet, and that the Baidi heart law was profoundly elusive. Baijiu clarified only those with Baidi bloodline could touch this art, and even daily insights were miraculous. When asked about Changen, Baijiu said even a prodigy couldn't begin without Baidis. His case was unpredictable. Hearing this, Tuyu sighed sadly, believing Changen unlikely to grasp the celestial Baidi art. Yet at that very time, in quiet meditation, Changen had already secretly formed his first spirit flower. When he opened his eyes, divine light flashed. Had reached the first major peak within an hour, making even celestial laws seem questionable. News spread through the outer sect, disciples buzzing about Changen's secret claim to the senior brother's seat. Some sighed that the once he despised Cripple might now face new disaster. Amid the crowd, maidservant Shen Ruling spoke up, questioning if the senior brother could return after dealing with Changen. Within the sect, elders convened. One grumbled about being summoned urgently before the Grand Assembly. Another elder replied that news of Changen restoring his cultivation had spread everywhere. The rumor grew wilder. Had defeated a core formation master and helped another reach nascent soul within days, an impossible feat. Someone scoffed that if that were true, Shen Ruling wouldn't still be stuck at her level. As debate peaked, Master Xiaoyun ended it, secretly hoping the rumors about Changen were real. After the meeting, news spread that Changen had departed. Xu Wan declared himself the new senior brother and vowed to settle all scores if they met again. Old grudges resurfaced, quietly festering in many hearts. Su Huan sat smugly drunk on the power of his new title. Just as he basked in it, a junior rushed in, panic-stricken with bad news. Hearing that Changen had returned, Xu Huan jolted, eyes burning with killing intent. The junior stammered that the man only resembled Changen but carried a different aura now. Su Huan coldly asked if Changen had ever bowed to anyone before. When told no, he sneered that Changen had lost his pride and was no longer a threat. In the soft dawn, Changen and Tuyu walked side by side to the Grand Assembly. He calm, she radiant. Along the way, Changen warned her to hide her identity, but Tuyu merely smiled, trusting that with him, fear was pointless. Her carefree faith made Changen smile outwardly but fret inwardly, knowing her closeness only invited danger. He sternly taught her to stand on her own, passing her a concealment technique to survive future storms. Tuyu rejoiced, and Baijia appeared, offering an extra illusion art, reminding her that no one could protect her forever. While teasing her with concern, Changen secretly schemed to learn Baijia's celestial arts as aces for the assembly. Inside the grand hall, elders had gathered, the air heavy like before a storm. Someone complained this year's talents were meager, none truly outstanding. They discussed reclaiming the sword embryo from Changen, saying its worth exceeded all prior investments. The sect master replied coldly that a sword no one could wield was just scrap iron. The remark silenced the room instantly. No one dared argue. Suddenly, a man burst in, pale with shock as if witnessing disaster. He slapped himself to steady his nerves before speaking. News that Changen appeared at the assembly sent the crowd into uproar. Many mocked him for courting humiliation. Yet beneath the mockery, the sect master grew uneasy, suspecting Changen had indeed regained his power. Outside the plaza, Changen masked his face, instructing Tu to join the trials without revealing her true realm. Despite his disguise, his presence drew attention. He only hoped Tu would pass swiftly. But attention was inevitable. Some sharp-eyed observers began suspecting his identity, making his heart tighten. Unable to hide longer, Changen calmly removed his mask and faced the stairs. Two onlookers cried out in shock, confirming it was indeed the former senior brother. The crowd erupted, pressing close as cheers crashed like waves. Amid the chaos, Changen was overwhelmed by questions about his cultivation and reasons for returning. Surrounded like prey among wolves, he silently thanked the concealment art for saving him from disaster. Amid the mixed cheers and malice, Ruoyan approached with a sneering, venomous tone. He scrutinized every inch of Changen, seeking a hint of weakness. Changen coldly denied knowing him, indifferent as if to a stranger. That disdain stabbed Ruoyan's pride, leaving him trembling with fury. Swallowing his rage, Ruoyan mocked again, while Changen calmly said he came for someone else. The simple reply only deepened Ruoyan's anger, and he swore to humiliate him soon. As tension peaked, the examination monument flared, drawing all eyes. Tu touched the spirit stone, and light exploded like a galaxy, shaking the plaza. Elders stood at once, stunned by the rare celestial vision. They realized she possessed an innate immortal body. The joyous news sent the sect into frenzy. Ruoyan gaped in disbelief, refusing to accept that Changen was tied to such a once-in-a-century genius. After brief thought, Ruoyan smirked coldly, convinced he still held the center of power. He dismissed Changen in his mind, plotting to approach Tu for his own advancement. Before he could act, Tu stepped forward, blocking Changen and coldly scolding with crushing authority. She unleashed spiritual pressure, sending Ruoyan flying, her power light yet terrifying. The elders' faces shifted, realizing this woman stood with their faction. Humiliated and furious, Ruoyan mocked Changen for hiding behind a woman, prompting Tu's proud, fiery defense. The stands buzzed with speculation that Changen never lost his cultivation, or perhaps had even surpassed his old realm, though some denied it. As tension rose, Ruoyan challenged him publicly to a duel. Changen merely gave a faint, detached smile, like a master above petty fights. He dismissed his opponent, letting Yer fight in the next round before walking away. As they withdrew under countless eyes, Changen explained the next round involved intersect duels to gauge true strength. Tu mischievously vowed to teach that old foe a lesson herself, but Changen cautioned her about her lack of experience. Touched by his concern, Tu embraced him, and Changen admitted she was important to him. He knew the man they'd faced was but one of countless enemies still out there. Tu grew secretly jealous, so Changen soothed her by saying the woman had looked at was her future master. From afar, Ruoyan silently watched, emotions swirling about Changen's chosen path. Changen reflected on the original self's wrongs toward Ruoyan and wished to make amends someday. After the first trial, he told Tu to enter the next as a lesson in growth, and she sensed his deeper intent. Watching her leave, he worried her hidden jealousy might cause future chaos. Tu approached with polite words, while the Grand Elder sneered, dismissing Changen's worth. The Grand Elder suspected he sought to rejoin the sect, but Changen coldly said he came only to expose a protected hypocrite. His words shocked the crowd. Many thought him arrogant, while the Grand Elder resolved to test Tu's true ability. The examiner appeared, asking Tu to choose a holy land to join. She chose Tai Shangjianzong. Ruoyan instantly stepped up to challenge, and Tu accepted with killing calm. Ruoyan opened with the 3,000 sword arts, attacking while hurling insults before all. Spectators gasped. Had used a forbidden-level technique, risking everything for victory. Facing the deadly strike, Tu received Baijia's insight into the technique, but had to find its flaw herself. She embraced the self-reliant spirit of swordsmanship, etching the lesson deep into her heart. A subtle divine resonance merged within her, strengthening resolve and comprehension. Meeting the lightning-fast strike, Tu countered with the tearing sun sword, shattering his attack. Ruoyan was horrified, his move undone in a blink by a mere novice. Baijia secretly noted Yu's extraordinary bloodline, yet incomplete sword mastery. Shed fought on instinct alone. At that moment, Changen's aura shifted, spiritual energy surging like one nearing enlightenment. He realized with joy that by observing Yu, had comprehended the essence of the 3,000 sword arts. The bizarre sight sent shockwaves through the arena. Everyone was stunned. Many cried out Changen's name in disbelief. The crowd concluded he had mastered the entire sword art merely by watching, his talent beyond mortal scale. Changen serenely corrected their form, declaring he'd grasped the art's essence to guide Yu. Tu responded at once, following his direction to crush the world's scorn. Ruoyan seized the chance to counterattack, believing her confidence was arrogance. Changen calmly pointed out the hidden flaw within the Golden Sun sword's merging stance. Yu spun with her sword, stunning Ruoyan as his hidden flaw was exposed. Struck and dazed, he convinced himself it was mere luck. Changen coldly noted his sword energy was chaotic, forcing spirit flow would only bring defeat. Following his next cue, Yu used the momentum to knock Ruoyan out of his stance. Changen kept guiding her, his tempo flowing like stormy clouds and wind. Ruoyan's body was shredded by sword ki, collapsing motionless on the stage. In despair, he could only mutter the same unanswered question. His arrogance vanished, leaving him trembling in fear. He gasped a bitter curse before breaking down completely. The elders realized in shock that Changen possessed the Tao body that harmonized all laws. The sect saw hope of revival. Before the murmurs faded, a mocking voice rose, amazed that Changen now played the teacher's role. Tu darted in front of him, boldly declaring that all his changes revolved around her. Xiaoyun frowned in doubt, sensing something truly different about him today. Changen could only give an awkward smile, inwardly fearing her possessive gaze would stir trouble soon. He foresaw that if Tu lost control, even the Holy Lands might not stay peaceful. Before calm returned, word spread grandly the Holy Lord of Taixing Holy Land had come to pay respects to Changen. Then the Holy Lords of Tianji, Jiaoguang, and Tianshengdi appeared as well, all bowing to him. The hall froze. 4 Holy Lords saluting in unison was unheard of. Changen's scalp tingled. He panicked, clueless how he'd become the center of it all. Lord Deshang invited him to join Taicheng Holy Land. The others instantly competed, hailing him as a peerless prodigy until he begged for a pause. From afar, someone objected, claiming Changen rightfully belonged to Taishang Jianzong. The Holy Lords coolly reminded that had been expelled, silencing the protest. All 4 lords pressed forward, promising resources, inheritances, and privileges beyond measure. Bathed in radiance, Changen outwardly stayed calm but inwardly panicked, mocking himself as merely ordinary. Still, reason told him this sudden rise was both blessing and peril. One wrong choice could tear away the false shell he wore. He also feared Tu discovering the truth. Disaster would follow. Just then, one Holy Lord laid a hand on his shoulder, gently asking his decision. Changen feigned confusion, while the other coaxed with promises of a secret divine art. That offer enraged the 3 others, cursing the shameless tactic. Changen coughed lightly to stall, trying to find an escape. The remaining lords raised their bids, offering succession rights and celestial artifacts for his consent. The scene turned into an auction, with Changen as the sole treasure. Tu blushed with jealousy until Baizha calmed her. Hearing his reasoning, Tu relaxed, convinced Changen would never be swayed by fame or gain. Amid the persuasion storm, Changen secretly sighed, feeling his inner burden lift. One Holy Lord asked anxiously if their rivalry displeased him. Changen politely declined, admitting their offers were precious but not his path. His resolute answer left everyone astonished. Smiling, he declared his sole choice remained Taishang Jianzong. Someone questioned why he'd returned to a sect that once abandoned him. Placing a hand on his chest, Changen said there was someone there he could never leave behind. Tu blushed, believing she was the one he meant, while Baizhou interpreted differently. In truth, Changen was perfectly rational, calculating long-term benefit and familiarity. Ironically, that practicality deeply moved the elders. One elder praised his magnanimity and loyalty, calling him the pride of Taishang Jianzong. Changen's humble aura made everyone see him as a reclusive immortal. The 4 Holy Lords reluctantly withdrew, promising to meet again if fate allowed. The Grand Assembly concluded that Taishang Jianzong had gained not just talent but one who could rewrite its destiny. A female elder sighed that thanks to Changen, the sect's honor was restored after Xu Huan's disgrace. A shrewd old man perceived that everything had been orchestrated by an unseen hand. Many whispered that even the Holy Lords had been subtly led by Changen. They'd gravely underestimated him. Yet amid the praise, Changen felt hollow, like autumn wind over desolate plains. He sensed himself lost among the righteous, a pawn of fate's cruel humor. Inwardly, he cursed why everyone insisted on making him heaven's chosen. Just then, a solemn summons arrived. Tu was invited to the Supreme Hall. Before leaving, she turned back with a smile. He answered with gentle eyes. Soon after, Master Xiaoyun claimed Changen had hidden his strength for a grander scheme. The remark left him stunned, unsure how to respond. He sighed that events were far beyond his control. Tu Wen patted his shoulder, teasing that his act was so good everyone believed it. Changen tried to explain, but matters had gone too far. His master cut him off, insisting she fully understood his intentions. At that moment, someone arrived requesting to ask about a certain matter. The question suddenly targeted the sword embryo, leaving Changen frozen. His master softly asked how he had handled the sword. The crowd guessed it had already chosen him, used to bolster his fame. Changen calmly replied he had given the sword embryo to Tu, stunning the entire hall. He affirmed it had recognized her as its master, their sword hearts now one and inseparable. The elders reeled as if overdosed on spiritual elixir. Finally, one elder clapped, calling it a great blessing for the sect. Xiaoyun gazed at Changen with newfound respect, seeing in him both genius and deep foresight. Tu joyfully returned, declaring they were now true sectmates, easing Changen's worries about his standing. He promptly sought leave from his master, reminding himself to depart early to avoid new troubles. The master smiled approvingly, praising his prudence and declaring the sect had gained enough today. Orders were issued. The spiritual ship was prepared to depart from Taiching Harbor. Everyone was assigned to leave alongside Tu. Changen held her hand as they boarded. She clung tightly, leaving him flustered while she laughed brightly. She vowed to cultivate diligently to be worthy of standing beside him. Hearing that, Changen finally felt a quiet peace. The master suddenly mentioned making his identity official, immediately confirming his rank. He hurriedly declined, saying such titles required caution. Changen explained he wished to reclaim his position through strength, not favoritism. Baizha then asked Tu his opinion. She bluntly said Changen was only finding excuses, making him break into a cold sweat. Tu quickly smoothed things over, explaining his choice as shared resolve and unity. Changen looked at her with softened eyes, grateful his fast aid hadn't cracked. He asked her what mattered most right now. She waited innocently for his answer. Changen solemnly spoke of restraint and humility, though inside he only craved peace. He reminded himself not to invite needless conflict or trouble. Tu and Xiaoyun both silently grasped the deeper wisdom of his words. Changen felt wary from keeping up the act for so long. The group quickly assembled. The master explained the void ship a vessel conserving spirit energy for long journeys. Seeing Tuyu's naive curiosity, Changen's heart softened. He hadn't expected her to be this innocent. He suggested she rest, as she had just survived a fierce battle. His concern moved Tuyu deeply, while Changen secretly rejoiced that safety was maintained. The master allowed them to rest early, promising further arrangements upon return. Changen led Tuyu away, flustering her until they met Su Huan, who stiffened while she whispered in worry. Changen deliberately avoided him. Su Huan stood still, realizing he'd been outmatched yet spared humiliation. Not being disgraced before others, he reluctantly accepted the truth. Overcome with shame, Su Huan collapsed, weeping and blaming his own weakness. Back in his room, Changen relaxed completely, lying down and exhaling relief after all the tension. Outside was calm before departure, yet voices rose praising his shining example of cultivation. He was about to turn away to sleep when a gentle hand touched his chest and a soft voice called his name. Tuyu was suddenly sitting on his lap, her clear eyes and nearness making his heart race. Her breath brushed his cheek. He glanced down and blushed furiously at the soft figure before him. Flustered to the limit, he tensed up, silently praying not to fall to the sweet temptation. Seeing his awkwardness, Tuyu recalled tales of sincere men and felt her heart tremble. Before she could think, spiritual force surged. She grew dizzy and collapsed into his arms, startling him. He lifted her, guessing it was a reaction to residual killing Kai, assuring she'd recover with rest. Placing her on the bed, she murmured thanks through drowsiness, and he softly told her to sleep peacefully. Leaving the room, his fists trembled. He felt as if he'd just survived a battle of willpower. To him, it was a true spiritual punishment. The whole ordeal felt like a bitter song he could barely swallow. Though she'd been delicate and alluring, everything ended in silence. Baizha appeared like one who saw through mortals, laughing that Changen's state of mind was beyond worldly desire. Tuyu pouted in frustration, hiding her shame yet unwilling to accept his restraint. Baizha advised that greater control bred greater respect, reminding her there would be many chances for dual cultivation. She dreamily vowed she'd claim him eventually. Elsewhere, Changen resumed both cultivation and self-discipline. The spirit ship glided beneath the dawn light. When calm returned, Changen admired the vast heavens, awed by the sect's mountains and rolling spiritual energy. His master's distant praise echoed, astonishing disciples with Changen's serene grace and emotion. He thought the flattery excessive had only lived in this body for 10 years, barely attached to the sect at all. The master recalled an old tale of a servant from years past. Leaving Changen confused, he remembered nothing of it. She explained it was a girl once taken in untalented and without backing, destined for obscurity. Changen sighed at the harsh law of survival. The master decided she'd send the girl away in a few days. Hearing that, a fierce intuition struck him, shaking his soul. A buried memory surfaced. Threads of fate and the title Child of Destiny appeared before his mind's eye. The scene shifted to a chaotic orphan market where a beautiful girl was auctioned like property. Amid the clanging gavel, a grey-robed man coldly offered a sky-high price. He reached out, inviting the girl to follow him into cultivation, and she naively accepted. But once inside the sect, she realized her savior was an illusion of twisted grace. The cruel truth emerged: she was tortured, humiliated, and treated as nothing more than a possession. She was thrown into the Supreme Sword sect, living a lowly, trampled life. Her world shrank to cold indifference and disdain. Before her late master's grave, she swore to sever all ties with the Supreme Sword sect. From that moment, she cut off her past. With Changen engraved in her heart, she vowed to reclaim everything with her own hands. Changen turned pale, realizing he was part of that karmic chain. He foresaw that in 3 years, the invincible demon lord Shen Ruoyan would rise, and he would die unjustly with the prince's mansion utterly terrified. In silence, Changen clutched his head, cursing himself for being a master of self-inflicted misfortune. Furious, he smashed a substitute effigy while screaming his vow to defy fate and prevent the tragedy. The master calmly said that Su Huan would take Shen Ruoyan away because her foundation was too weak. Hearing that, Changen felt doused in cold water and hastily begged to stop the decision. The master turned to him, eyes probing his sudden change of heart. Changen cited lofty reasons about hidden talent outwardly for the sect, inwardly fearing death at the future demon lord's hands. The master was unsatisfied and asked what else he had to consider. Changen rattled on about the unpredictable potential of cultivators, speaking for the greater good while inwardly praying to keep his head attached. His reasonable words convinced the master to pause the decision, and Changen exhaled in relief as the threat of being slain by a demoness faded. He comforted himself that befriending a future world-shaking figure was like buying life insurance. While plotting survival, a gentle voice called Changen back to reality. He seriously arranged for Sayu to choose a residence on Dan Peak, assuring she could freely use his own cave dwelling. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, while Changen had no idea what consequences awaited. Sayu bluntly demanded to share his bedroom and even hugged him, leaving Changen helplessly compliant. Meanwhile, Ruoyan quietly returned to her desolate room, her lonely shadow stretching down the cold corridor. At the door she whispered a farewell, declaring that from now on, this place belonged to her alone. The silence shattered as a group burst in, shouting that she had no right to stay in the Supreme Sword sect. Ruoyan trembled but stood firm, claiming it was once her family's home and no one could take it. One struck her down mercilessly, mocking a powerless girl for daring to resist. They coldly revealed that the senior brother had returned and was no cripple as rumored. The news cut like a blade, filling her with hatred that he lived unscathed while she suffered humiliation. Another female disciple sneered at her lowly status, making Ruoyan weep in despair for a peaceful life. She blamed herself for foolishly trusting the wrong person, ending up in disgrace without escape. A spark ignited within only strength could let her stand against them, and the entire sword sect. Before the thought finished, her hair was yanked and she was insulted, yet the bullies suddenly froze in fear. A figure emerged from the shadows, each step freezing the air. The three were thunderstruck, realizing the senior brother had returned for Ruoyan and they were doomed. They collapsed, trembling and begging for mercy, swearing guilt in hopes of surviving. Changen's icy voice transmitted a command to drive them out, warning that any leak would bring ruin. The trio, petrified, crawled away as if under divine judgment, leaving Changen quietly astonished by their terror. Only after leaving did they dare breathe, confusedly gossiping about the senior brother's sudden return for someone seemingly worthless. One suddenly realized maybe the senior brother saw Ruoyan as an old toy and returned with hidden motives, sending chills down their spine. By then, Changen had already approached Ruoyan. He bent down to help her up, gently asking about her condition. She looked up dazedly, weak yet grateful, cautiously asking who her savior was. Changen hesitated, reasoning that since her eyesight hadn't recovered, concealing his identity would be safer. Ruoyan grew even more respectful, convinced the person before her was a transcendent being whose gaze alone could subdue others. Changen reluctantly responded, inwardly bewildered at being mistaken for a divine figure. Ruoyan struggled to her feet, thanking him and vowing to leave the Supreme Sword sect that night, forever remembering his life-saving grace. She bowed to pay respects, but Changen quickly stopped her. The image of her one day chasing him with a blade flashed in his mind, making him shiver and silently decline that kind of repayment. For self-preservation, he sternly forbade her from leaving Ruoyan puzzled. Changen helped her sit on a stone bench, calmly hinting that her path ahead would be far more complicated than she imagined. Tears streamed as she asked if she even had a future when family was gone and only humiliation remained. Changen gently reassured her, claiming she possessed a rare natural talent, leaving her stunned. She doubted him, having only ever heard insults of uselessness. Turmoil rose within as she reasoned such a profound expert had no reason to deceive her. Changen lowered his tone with sincere words, secretly planning to keep playing the righteous senior to stabilize things. While scheming, he asked about her eyes, and Ruoyan softly explained it was a congenital relapse after her family's death. Changen handed her a bottle of eye-nourishing elixir, advising long-term use, moving her deeply that someone still cared. Seeing the situation settled, he smiled, told her to call him senior brother, and hurried off, fearing Cu might cause chaos. Behind him came a soft, heartfelt thank you drifting like wind. On the way back, Changen admired how tidy his residence appeared under the name Tu Changen. The thought died when he remembered he'd let Cu use his bedroom, sending him sprinting home like fleeing disaster. Opening the door, the sight before him nearly sent his soul flying. The room was plastered with red wedding symbols like a bridal chamber, spelling pure danger. Changen froze, unable to believe his eyes. He trembled, calling Cu's name toward the bed. Suddenly, a soft hand gripped his, making his heart leap out of his chest. He was pulled onto the bed, slender legs entwining him as Cu's heated whisper brushed his ear. Inside, he could only lament fate, wondering why she turned so bold now that they were alone. He avoided her gaze, mind in chaos at the unforeseen scene, though technically, had allowed it. Cu's eyes turned blade sharp, pressing an unspoken command straight into his mind. Changen was instantly trapped, unwilling yet unable to resist. Cu smiled in satisfaction, hugging him tight, declaring this would now be their shared home. Hearing that, Changen envisioned a future of torment like descending into human hell. He sprang up in protest, insisting she could share the room but not the bed. He hurried to flee to the guest room, but behind him came a soft, suggestive voice. When Changen turned around, Cu's act of undressing shocked his soul. Though he tried to dodge, she dragged him into an inescapable situation. Just as things crossed the line, a strange sound echoed in Cu's mind like a warning bell. Baijiu instantly recognized the familiar sign, awakening Cu, who confirmed the hidden treasure truly lay within the sect. Changen also sensed Baijiu's spiritual energy restored greatly, its aura now utterly different. Cu hugged him tightly, sweetly affirming their bond wasn't just a passing impulse. Changen hurriedly changed the subject, promising that once he became sword master, he'd fix her physical problem. Baijiu mocked via sound transmission, saying the two of them together could level the whole sect. Why bother with titles? Changen paled, frantically trying to stop such reckless talk. Baizha arrogantly preached that the strong rule all and that the current sword master wasn't worth a flick. Panic churned in Changsheng's heart. He knew he was too weak to bear such praise. He steadied himself and opposed the idea under the excuse of destiny and the greater good. Baizha and Siyu both froze, confused by his words. A moment later, Siyu assumed he was considering the grand scheme and key figures. She nodded solemnly, praising his foresight, leaving Changsheng internally crying and laughing. Seeing the time right, Baizha ended the chatter, dragging Siyu away to secluded cultivation. Swept off in haste, Siyu turned back with a teasingly suggestive remark. Alone again, Changsheng watched them disappear, finally breathing out in relief. He thought the immediate danger had passed. Now was time to plan for the threat named Shen Ruoyan. In the sect cafeteria, disciples gossiped that Changsheng's link to the sword master must hide a secret. One guessed he was spared only thanks to Xu Huan's favor. Another countered, saying Xu Huan had praised the senior brother nonstop since returning, calling him a changed man. Everyone was puzzled by this sudden transformation. Just as the talk heated up, a figure appeared, silencing all when they realized it was the senior brother himself. Changsheng calmly entered the cafeteria near dusk, planning to eat first, then bring food to Ruoyan. The disciples buzzed nervously, fearing he'd stir trouble again. At the counter, he politely requested a takeaway meal, making the server flustered with delight as if meeting royalty. Those nearby froze, stunned that the senior brother fetched food himself and spoke so courteously. Changsheng casually pointed at dishes, ignoring the shocked stares. The disciples whispered, doubting if he had truly changed at heart. Meanwhile, he stroked his chin, pondering what meal to get for Ruoyan. He finally chose a simple set: stir-fried bamboo shoots with pork, boiled shrimp, and white rice, asking for a thin wooden box. The crowd turned to stone. Someone muttered the meal must hide a secret cultivation method. Watching his departing back, the disciples scrambled to order the same menu, while Ruoyan silently drowned in gloom. Old memories surged. She clenched her fists, her cold eyes breeding hatred. She vowed that even if she couldn't kill him, she'd make him kneel in shame before the sect. Elsewhere, Changsheng sneezed repeatedly. Consoling himself, he still had serious business to handle. Soon after, he arrived at Ruoyan's quarters. At the door, he knocked gently, saying he'd brought her food. Inside, he saw Ruoyan weeping, tears streaming down her cheeks. Seeing her frail state, Changsheng angrily asked who had bullied her so he could settle the score. Ruoyan suddenly embraced him, admitting she'd feared he wouldn't come. He soothed her softly. He mentioned the meal he'd brought, saying she must be hungry by now. Steam rose from the meal, leaving Ruoyan staring in stunned silence. Seeing her strange look, Changsheng worried he'd somehow done something wrong. Before he could ask, she suddenly threw herself into his arms again. Panic hit him. She might scare him to death now that he was basically mortal. Choking up, she apologized for once suspecting he was too Changsheng. He awkwardly tried to explain his special abilities but didn't get the chance. Ruoyan cut him off, insisting the old Tu Changsheng would never have cared for her so thoughtfully. Hearing that, Changsheng wanted to bash his head. His plan to earn goodwill had completely backfired. He forced a smile, suggesting they eat first, sighing that being nice often only brings trouble. He picked up food for her, telling her to eat while hot. She shyly murmured a reply. The shrimp's taste instantly revived painful, buried memories. Scenes of humiliation resurfaced, times when she lived off others' leftovers. Too used to suffering, she timidly questioned where the meal came from. He immediately denied any trick, assuring her he'd bought it himself. Seeing her innocent doubt, he recalled her life of endless oppression. He gently served more food, and she glowed with joy like a pampered kitten. When the meal ended, he solemnly suggested she leave this cultivation place and follow him to the mortal realm. He hinted confidently that he had some standing there. In his mind, he saw a peaceful, abundant life without strife. His good intent was misread. She thought he wanted to drive her away, her tone turning icy. He was shaken, unable to grasp why she always felt abandoned. She firmly refused to leave, making him realize her resolve was more dangerous than he'd imagined. When she mentioned her talent, he finally understood the real reason. Deep down, he admitted her potential was terrifying enough to shake both righteous and demonic paths. Yet that very talent carried a shadow that didn't belong to the righteous way. She kept emphasizing her unending hatred for the senior brother, and he could only sigh. He reluctantly defended the man, trying to stay neutral. She mistook his words as concern, blushing with moved gratitude. She vowed to protect him in the future, even at the cost of her life. Horrified, he stopped her, declaring she was too important, half touched, half scheming inside. At last, he handed her an old sword manual, pointing out the proper cultivation path for her. As she received it, enlightenment burst within, spiritual light flared, and knowledge etched directly into her soul. Watching from afar, Changsheng stood with folded arms, lost in thought. He recalled how, in the illusion of the past, the demon lord had once spoken coldly amid a cataclysmic battle. Back then, her fate ended in exhaustion and death. Now destiny had shifted. He felt relief and joy, while she brimmed with hope, believing she'd finally stepped onto the true path of cultivation. Outwardly, he simply told her to train diligently and promised to visit when he could. As he prepared to leave, she tugged his sleeve, shyly asking when they'd meet again. She hinted she wanted to prepare properly for that reunion. He smiled awkwardly, telling her to focus on sword practice, knowing their next meeting wasn't up to him. She let go, disappointment flickering but accepting it quietly. On his way down the mountain, he pondered why he no longer sensed any strange omens. As his silhouette vanished, she whispered a promise to await their next encounter. Meanwhile, Siyu, meditating under Baijia's strict guidance, suddenly made a breakthrough. Excited, she realized Shed connected with the Phantom of the White Emperor, believing Shed reached a new realm. Baijiao calmly denied it, explaining she had only grasped the outer shell of the Emperor's law. Hearing of a higher realm, Siyu blinked in confusion. Shed never heard of it before. Baijiao slowly described the supreme state, where the Emperor's law fused with one's bloodline and body. Those words etched deep into Sayu's heart, making her vow to reach the end of cultivation and stay by Changsheng forever. Overjoyed, she ran off to share her success, calling his name excitedly. But when she opened the door, the empty room left her stunned. Baijia calmly said he'd been called away for other matters. Her eyes wavered slightly, but her mind revolved around only one person. Elsewhere, Changsheng carried a food box, worried his trip had taken too long. As he reached his door, a familiar voice called from afar. A cold gaze pinned him, and a sharp, questioning tone filled with killing intent demanded an answer. Before he could react, a blade touched his neck. Sweat poured as his clumsy excuse only fueled her rage. Panic struck had his secret been exposed. Escape seemed impossible. To his shock, she turned the sword toward herself, despairing that life without him was meaningless. He lunged to stop her. Through tears, she cried that had never kept her in his heart. Living on was only pain. He swiftly snatched the weapon away, terrified she'd do something rash. Even restrained, she stubbornly struggled, declaring she was the last thing he had left. He swore that if she died, he'd have no will to live. Either his words pierced her heart. His resolve moved her deeply, while he only smiled awkwardly, eyes full of sincerity. She burst into tears and hugged him tight, while he sighed that honesty was indeed the best pacifier. He gently stroked her hair, comforting her with autumn breeze tenderness. Once calm, she looked up and asked where he had gone. He pointed to the food box, cheerfully saying he'd gone to buy her dinner. Still pouting, she hugged his waist tighter, testing if he remembered her taste. Grimacing in pain but smiling, he assured her he remembered her odd favorite dishes. Her face lit up. She admitted she'd misunderstood him. Resting in his arms, she whispered a playful warning. He softly agreed. Just as things turned intimate, Baijia appeared, declaring Changsheng was truly cultivating and far from ordinary. He marveled that in such a short time, Changsheng had grasped a sword intent beyond expectation. Siyu looked at him with admiration and tender emotion, about to confess when he panicked and stepped back. Sensing the disturbance, Baijia separated them and forced her back to training, leaving her pouting in frustration. Through the sleepless night, Changsheng wrote tirelessly until the moonlight faded. Setting down his brush, he leaned his forehead, sighing at himself. He felt lucky Baijia had dragged Siyu to train, otherwise he'd never finish his insights. In his mind, the 10,000 demons sword technique had been refined into a new branch. He only wondered if Ruoyan could handle it. While pondering, a disciple arrived to announce that the Grand Elder wished to see him. Upon meeting, the Grand Elder's gaze landed on him and instantly changed color, letting out a startled cry. The odd reaction made Changsheng flinch. Uneasy, he guessed the Elder might have seen through something. The Grand Elder quickly masked his shock, pretending concern while waves surged within from the sword aura radiating off him. Changsheng humbly returned the greeting, claiming he needed no further aid. His calm composure only deepened the Elder's astonishment. It clashed with the power he sensed. Being stared at too long, Changsheng grew uneasy and decided to divert attention. He presented a newly written sword manual, asking the Grand Elder to assess its grade. At first, the old man felt skeptical and dismissive. Changsheng respectfully offered the book, calling it a mere beginner's draft. The Grand Elder flipped through indifferently, believing a sword art written in a few hours couldn't hold any real value. But the more he read, the stiffer the Elder's face became. His hands trembled halfway through. He couldn't believe it, staring at Changsheng as if facing something inhuman. Seeing that reaction, Changsheng assumed his writing was so bad it offended the reader. He humbly apologized, while the Grand Elder was struck dumb, realizing even the beginner section could found an entire sect. The old man sighed as though releasing a lifetime of cultivation, while Changsheng stood baffled by the overreaction. The Elder's deep gaze studied him like a monster, wondering why such a genius hid for years. A sudden theory flashed. He quickly pieced every strange event together. In his mind's eye, Changsheng had boldly claimed Siyu as his own, suppressing rivals with sword intent. The Elder realized every earlier act had been a veiled warning not to touch Siyu. He silently praised the sect master's wisdom, believing with Changsheng, the sect would stand unshakable. Overcome with emotion, he nearly cried, while Changsheng just stood there confused about what trouble had caused this time. Regaining composure, the Grand Elder declared he lacked the qualifications to rank the sword manual and hastily excused himself. Watching him leave, Changsheng felt even more lost. Was his work terrible or terrifyingly good? Just then, Siyu suddenly appeared. He hurriedly hid the manual, noticing her odd expression and asking about her cultivation. Her flirtatious reply made him freeze, but before he could respond, a loud noise shattered the moment. Siyu asked in surprise where that strange sound came from. The booming carried fierce energy that made one's skin crawl. Changsheng calmly explained it was the monthly signal bell. Half joking, he said the sound came from the sect's most crucial location. It was the area where scriptures, sword key, and rare treasures converged. The Supreme Sword sect's greatest relics were stored there. Each time the bell rang, disciples gathered to fight for fortune. Bai Jia declared their target lay within exciting Siyu, who urged departure. Yet unease welled up in Chang Sheng again. Fate felt like it was twisting. He quietly probed the flow of destiny but saw only unnatural darkness. He glanced at Siyu, sensing this time the omen wasn't about her. Another name surfaced, chilling him to the bone. He screamed inwardly, begging the system not to spawn another deadly twist. Seeing him clutch his head blankly, Siyu worriedly asked what was wrong. Chang Sheng stammered an excuse, planning to postpone everything. Her eyes turned icy, realizing he meant to avoid going with her. He awkwardly explained that the treasure pavilion's strict rules made entry difficult. Leaning closer, he whispered that now wasn't the right time. He painted a picture of storming the top floors once stronger. His gentle tone made her blush before she eagerly returned to training. Once she left, he sighed in relief, deciding to handle another looming disaster. Amid a sky crowded with sword-flying disciples, he spotted Ruoyan gazing upward. She calmly noted that today marked the opening of the treasure pavilion. He was surprised by her knowledge, while she admitted she'd never dared dream of entering. Shameful memories resurfaced times she'd been humiliated and discarded like trash. Hatred flared. She blamed all her suffering on Chang Sheng and swore to cut into pieces. Chang Sheng felt a chill, quickly pretending neutrality by citing sect rules. Her eyes turned sharp, suspecting he was defending her enemy. Panicking, he changed tone, agreeing that Chang Sheng's sins needed no defense. Hearing that, she brightened, convinced her senior brother stood firmly on her side. In his mind, he compared them a wary cat and a gentle but dangerous rabbit sighing over the whims of fate. Ruoyan cautiously asked if she could enter the scripture vault. Before he could answer, she withdrew her hope with a bitter smile. She comforted herself that her current sword skills were enough. She even claimed she'd create her own technique if no manual suited her. Those words triggered Chang Sheng's memory of the blood-soaked future demon lord. In that vision, she chained him to the ground, condemning him as a false saint. The imagined end made his skin crawl. She'd enslaved him as her attendant. The thought strangled his spirit. Panic made him mentally scream for the system's help. After a moment's thought, he softened, calmly offering to guide her into the scripture pavilion. His gentle tone soothed her deeply, making her believe her senior brother truly protected her. Inwardly, he just hoped his dark reputation scared others away. As they entered the pavilion, countless eyes followed, whispers buzzing around them. She bowed her head to steady him, while he quietly rejoiced that infamy kept trouble distant. Chang Sheng went straight to request entry to the highest floor. The registrar started to salute, but he quickly waved it off, trying to keep things casual. His oddly friendly demeanor left the official stunned. Ruoyan silently observed, growing more impressed by his unusual composure. He quietly sighed in relief. His true identity remained hidden. Registration finished swiftly after some initial awkwardness. Ruoyan introduced herself as a mere servant disciple. The murmurs of contempt made her falter, but he grasped her hand and coldly declared she was his disciple. The aura in his voice made the registrar panic, too scared to argue. He teased her lightly, telling her not to mind the gossip. Before leaving, he turned and warned the crowd with a voice sharp as a blade. Upon reaching the 8th floor, he explained the formation system and the only route to the 9th. Seeing her silently tear up, he gently asked why. She wiped her tears and smiled, feeling truly protected. For the first time, her belief in surpassing rivals solidified. While he froze as someone suddenly questioned them. Elder Wu Wen examined him closely, astonished that Chang Sheng, once known for scorning women, now brought a girl to such a sacred place. Suspecting he had changed, Chang Sheng reminded himself to stay calm, knowing the division head despised him and showed no mercy. He decided to conceal all ulterior motives to avoid new trouble. He respectfully bowed and explained he was seeking a suitable sword manual for his disciple. Wu Wen was stunned, unable to believe Chang Sheng had truly taken in a female student. The elder feigned concern, stressing that high-level arts were hard to obtain and her talent might not endure them. Chang Sheng smiled confidently, claiming they underestimated his disciple and boldly requested access to the highest tier. His words enraged Wu Wen, who called it reckless and fatal for the girl, branding Chang Sheng as cruel as ever. Ruoyan, torn between gratitude and fear, tried to speak, but Chang Sheng stopped her, ignoring Wu Wen's warnings as they pressed onward. Near the entrance, an invisible barrier flared violently, drawing Chang Sheng's attention. Wu Wen sneered, mocking that those lacking reverence would meet ruin if they forced entry. Unfazed, Chang Sheng stepped forward without hesitation. Sword intent surged from him, enveloping his form. Wu Wen was stunned as the barrier bent under the pressure, while Chang Sheng strode in, fully in control. The elder couldn't believe he possessed such supreme sword intent nor fathom its source. Another elder appeared, mentioning a body-protecting sword aura, leaving Wu Wen speechless. That Chang Sheng seemed entirely unaware of his own power. The elder quietly observed, impressed as if he'd discovered a long-hidden treasure. Chang Sheng looked clueless, thinking the ancestral barrier wasn't that scary after all. Ruoyan nervously clutched her senior's sleeve, but Chang Sheng gently assured her it was safe. He emphasized finding a cultivation method suited for her, making Ruoyan blush and thank him shyly. She followed eagerly, sensing thick spiritual pressure from the top shelves, awed by the depth of it all. Amid the heavy aura, she couldn't fathom how her senior remained calm and unbothered. Suddenly, her eyes lit up upon spotting something unusual. A misty shadow appeared behind Changen, making her doubt her own eyesight. While she stared, Changen skimmed through secret arts, frowning at their strange and useless contents. Annoyed, he slammed a book down, grumbling he sought mind arts, not vulgar nonsense. At that moment, Ruoyan handed him another, saying it claimed any realm could cultivate it. He turned a page and instantly blushed. It was filled with very explicit dual cultivation illustrations. Seeing his daze, she innocently asked, and he hastily hid the book, saying it was untrainable. Internally, he cursed whoever created such a ridiculous manual. Changen realized most techniques here suited the righteous path, ill-fitting for Ruoyan's nature. He softly asked if she sensed any aura that felt familiar or comforting. Ruoyan recalled her master's warning about the Taisheng sword sect's clashing arts, so she hid her fear. Eventually, she chose to trust him, confessing her discomfort, and he gently vowed to find a safer way. His words stirred a warm, indescribable feeling in her heart. She realized her senior never shunned her, no matter who she was. She hugged him gratefully, leaving Changen blushing and bewildered. Embarrassed, she muttered an excuse and suggested leaving if no suitable art could be found. Using dirty clothes as an excuse, she pulled him away from the 9th floor, ignoring others' stares. From afar, Luzhong, aide to the Grand Elder, watched coldly, suspicious of their closeness. As he turned away, Luzhong clenched his fists, eager to crush the secret it uncovered. A malicious idea formed that Changen flaunted himself to invite trouble, a perfect chance to destroy him. Elsewhere, the Grand Elder sat in disbelief that Changen could casually create a mightier cultivation art. He couldn't fathom why such a genius returned to the Taisheng sword sect instead of a broader path. Regret filled him for expelling Changen. Just as the sect leader arrived, aura stern and heavy. Questioned, the elder awkwardly denied resentment, though he secretly blamed Xiao Yunning for hiding the truth. From afar, Luzhong rushed over, shouting as soon as he spotted them. Seeing the sect leader, he immediately bowed respectfully. Scheming gleamed in his eyes, a chance to punish Changen and implicate his master too. Without delay, he loudly accused Changen of misconduct with a female disciple, shocking both listeners. He swore he'd seen it himself while entering the scripture pavilion. Luzhong claimed Changen had boldly brought an outer disciple into the sect's sacred grounds. Citing sect rules, he stressed such a person was strictly forbidden entry, darkening the Grand Elder's face. Xiao Yunning looked doubtful. Changen's sudden warmth toward Ruoyan was out of character. The sect leader's face darkened, angered that Changen had lost discipline for someone unworthy. The Grand Elder thought differently, believing Changen's choice of Ruoyan must have deeper purpose. Luzhong knelt, shouting for Changen's punishment expulsion, smugly sure sect law was on his side. Just as he fantasized victory, an elder appeared, striking him down in a flash. Luzhong was sent flying before he could even blink. Lying on the ground, he cried in outrage, thinking the sect leader was playing favorites. The Grand Elder coldly admitted it was his strike, scolding Luzhong as an ungrateful fool ruining order. He knew well that Ruoyan might be a rare sword physique, nearly lost due to rash judgment. Xiao Wenning swiftly demoted Luzhong to a menial worker. Restarting him from scratch, he screamed in protest. Before he could argue, he was shouted away, leaving in bitter humiliation. Consumed by hatred, Luzhong swore to cripple Ruoyan in the upcoming grand tournament. Watching him flee, the sect leader asked why the Grand Elder had suddenly changed his stance. He only smiled in relief. Xiao Wenning secretly wondered what Changen had done to earn the elder's total respect. Just then, Wu Wen appeared and bowed, clearly coming about Changen. Wu Wen admitted his report concerned Changen and his new disciple, though his intent was complex. Xiao Wenning grew tense, suspecting another accusation. But instead, Wu Wen congratulated them. The sect now had two qualified to enter the 9th floor of the scripture pavilion. The news stunned both the sect leader and the Grand Elder. Wu Wen affirmed that passing the 9th floor barrier relied purely on genuine strength. Xiao Wenning recalled her own painful failure there, deeply shaken by their feat. Quiet pride welled within her. Changen truly was remarkable. She decisively ordered an inspection of which scriptures the two had accessed. As the trio stepped into the front courtyard, the air abruptly shifted. Two robed powerhouses descended from the sky, declaring themselves envoys from two great holy lands. Both guests bowed, requesting access to the highest floor to study the sect's core scriptures. Xiao Wenning smiled in welcome, treating their visit as an honor, and led them personally. Near the restricted zone, they noticed lingering spiritual energy in the air. Wang Linhai frowned, remarking that the residual aura proved a mighty being had just departed. He added that the sect's supreme elder must be strong enough to endure such pressure unharmed. Xiao Wenning opened the barrier but was startled. Today's pressure felt unusually light. The elders pondered that perhaps a peak expert's visit had caused the scriptures to suppress their own power. Everyone trembled, sharing the same guess about who that person might be. Xiao Wenning immediately denied it, insisting Changen wasn't yet at that level. Even so, she secretly thought he might have used some special technique. Scanning the shelves, she froze at an empty spot and furiously shouted Changen's name. Zhang Sunqing beside her gaped. He couldn't believe Changen went through all that just to borrow a dual harmony art. Wang Linhai burst out laughing, saying the rumors about Changen's antics were clearly true. Xiao Wenning crushed the shelf in fury, cursing Changen for growing bolder by the day. Elsewhere in the sect, Changen sneezed, sensing someone must be talking about him. He smiled reassuringly at Ruoyan, secretly pleased that everything was going according to plan. Soaking in the bath, Ruoyan recalled the borrowed mind manual, her cheeks burning red. A vision of Changen smiling and mentioning dual cultivation flashed in her mind, making her heart race. Startled, she ducked underwater, muttering that the technique was dangerously distracting. After a while she emerged, neatly dressed but still visibly flustered. Meeting Changen, she shyly announced she had finished bathing. A wooden sword flew over. Changen told her to catch it. Holding one himself, he seriously intended to test her recent sword training. Ruoyan blinked at the wooden weapon, puzzled by the choice. Half joking, half serious, Changen said it was to avoid injuries, secretly fearing real blades would spell trouble. Hearing that, Ruoyan blushed, touched by his thoughtfulness. Her spirits lifted. She vowed not to let his expectations down. She took stance, eyes shining, earnestly requesting his instruction. Seeing her intensity, Changen broke into a sweat, warning this was a spar, not a duel to the death. Before he finished, Ruoyan lunged like a storm, making him think she'd truly unleashed killing intent. Her wooden sword struck so fast that he had to fight seriously in response. As they clashed, he suspected she was still holding back, while she thought she'd upset him, and quickly apologized. Catching a blow, Changen called for a stop, asking them to reset positions and start over. This time Ruoyan's movement soared, her speed blurring into air itself. In a blink, she appeared behind him, gaze cold enough to chill bones. Yet Changen had already anticipated it, tilting aside to dodge the strike. Ruoyan spun upward, body gliding weightlessly through the air like a phantom. The two battled fiercely, wooden swords clashing with metallic thunder. At the fight's peak, the courtyard doors opened. The sect leader, Grand Elder, and two Holy Land envoys stared in shock. All eyes fixed on the arena where sword force roared. Though the blades were wood, the killing intent touched the lee lines. Zhang Sunqing trembled, muttering that he recognized Ruoyan's sword style. He couldn't believe she'd grasped sword intent in mere days, an almost impossible feat. Turning to the sect leader, he declared Changen a once-in-era prodigy and a guiding torch for the sect. Xiao Wenning still doubted why they didn't use spirit swords, and the elders agreed wood dulled power. Zhang Sunqing understood Changen used wooden swords to protect his junior sister and admired his heart deeply. The two Holy Land guests exchanged glances, wondering if Changen was truly that noble. Xiao Wenning was baffled by Ruoyan's sudden growth, then reminded of Changen's dual cultivation physique, blushing at her oversight. Seizing the moment, Wang Linhai proposed that the Taishang sword sect lead the coming Dao debate, and Elder Hai eagerly volunteered. Zhang Sunqing mocked that last year the Holy Lands had scorned them, yet now scrambled to spar first. They quickly excused it as learning from Changen. Xiao Wenning smiled, agreeing to invite more Holy Lands to join, earning respectful thanks from the two envoys. A swirl of emotions rose in her heart as she vowed to clear the world's misunderstandings about Changen. As the duel continued, Changen encouraged Ruoyan mid-battle, urging her to keep pushing forward. Ruoyan's forehead dripped with sweat, breath quick but eyes still focused. Changen glanced at her clothes and blurted out whether she always dressed so plainly. She stammered, explaining she dressed simply to avoid drawing attention. Changen shook his head, gently scolding that she was lovely and shouldn't feel inferior, had simply been blind before. His praise made her heart tremble, eyes misty with disbelief at being acknowledged. He teased that a pretty girl dressing like a servant was heartbreaking, making her blush harder. She softly begged him not to say such things here. Changen sighed, realizing he felt far more relaxed around Ruoyan than when facing Yu. He told her she'd entered the innate realm, so once her status changed, her attire needn't be modest anymore. Ruoyan lowered her head, admitting she had finer clothes, just that they were too tight. Changen glanced at her figure, quickly turning away, realizing she was right. He promised to have new clothes made, prompting Ruoyan to tearfully hug him from behind. Frowning, Changen asked what she meant by not allowed. She gripped tighter, saying he once pulled her from hell, so she'd vowed lifelong loyalty yet had abandoned her. Lifting her head coldly, she declared that one day she'd slay Changen herself, then follow him in death, shocking him deeply. Changen knocked her on the head to snap her out of the madness. He shouted for her to stop the nonsense and focus on sword training. Ruoyan held her head, groaning, then resolved to train hard so she'd never be left behind. Tears glimmered as she silently vowed to live up to her senior's faith in her. Changen sighed, realizing Ruoyan was far from gentle, a bigger handful than Yu. Suddenly Ruoyan convulsed, spiritual light bursting around her, startling everyone nearby. Changen realized she was spontaneously breaking through, likely a fated rare gift. As the light faded, her aura transformed, her eyes sharpened, and she gasped she could see again. Changen was stunned, understanding she'd not only advanced but touched the realm of true sword heart. It was the highest state achievable only after mastering sword intent, a dream most cultivators never reach. More importantly, that instant had briefly restored her sight. Changen quickly avoided her gaze, alarmed, ordering her to close her eyes at once to prevent side effects. He sternly explained the state was fleeting and mustn't be wasted on trivial matters. Ruoyan obeyed, focusing on her essence and ki, replying softly with full trust. Seeing her safely enter meditation, Changen quietly left to guard from afar. At that moment, an ancient talisman floated before him. Reading it, he frowned. His master was forcing him into the upcoming Grand Dao debate, basically throwing him to danger. Meanwhile, the story shifted elsewhere entirely. Chu Yu and Baijiao soaked in a spiritual spring, mist swirling as frustration weighed on their stalled cultivation. Yu sighed, admitting she'd tried everything yet made no progress. Baijiao half-teased, half-warned that emotional hesitation might make Chang Sheng's attention drift to another. Uneasy, Yu wondered if Chang Sheng's concern was truly affection or just admiration of talent. Baijiao retorted sharply, citing his distant behavior as proof of insincerity. She declared that the cultivation path demanded decisiveness, one couldn't advance while tangled in feelings. Baijiao insisted that with Yu's talent, she could easily surpass her peers if she'd just let go of her attachment. Yu lowered her head, arguing that Chang Sheng was only being cautious because of her physique and knowledge. Baijiao coldly concluded that true cultivators never let emotions rule. Letting go meant one never truly chose. Just then, Chang Sheng's familiar voice came from outside, reigniting Yu's hope. Forgetting her state, she hurriedly called for him to wait, wanting to rush out. But Chang Sheng merely greeted calmly, told her to rest, then left to cultivate. Chang Sheng decided to avoid Yu at night to keep a clear mind, retreating to the study instead. Chu Yu stood still, eyes following his fading silhouette in silence. Baijiao sneered that a fiancé who could resist temptation at the door foretold a cold marriage. Yu sadly admitted she knew Chang Sheng kept distance, she just feared she wasn't special enough. Baijiao bluntly told her to lower expectations, warning that immortals should detach from lust and choose wisely. Yu clenched her fists, vowing to compose herself and prove his feelings were true. She gave a crooked smile, even harboring a dark thought to uncover what he was truly hiding. Back in the study, Chang Sheng slammed the door, lamenting that bad luck followed from Ruoyan to deadly missions. He decided to prioritize revising Shen Ruoyan's mental art to prevent future trouble. Closing his eyes, Chang Sheng combed through old memories, trying to recall every past technique. He realized it was Ruoyan's past life emperor demon art, trading fragments of soul for peak talent. His mind replayed a blood-soaked girl amid ruins, eyes filled with hopeless despair. Her dying oath echoed she'd burn her lifespan just to kill him. Chang Sheng sighed deeply, grateful that fate had shifted this time. He resolved to rewrite the art entirely, turning it into a righteous cultivation path free of demonic taint. Pen in hand, he wrote like flowing wind, every stroke imbued with pure sword intent. He merged the white emperor art with righteous essence to neutralize the emperor demon art's corruption. While Chang Sheng labored over new techniques, elsewhere Wang Qingfeng fumed at being forced to attend his Dao lecture. Wang Linhai calmly admitted he wanted his disciple to learn directly from Chang Sheng. Suddenly thunder roared, lightning shaking the mountains. Wang Linhai declared it a sign of heaven and earth, resonating proof of a heaven-tier technique forming at Taishang's sword sect. Qingfeng was stunned, while Linhai speculated it could be a breakthrough or a rare anomaly. He sternly ordered his disciple to attend the Dao debate regardless of the cause. Back in the study, Chang Sheng heard the thunder outside, puzzled by the strange omen. Setting his brush down, exhaustion took over, and he decided to rest for the night. Just then, soft footsteps echoed down the corridor toward the study. Chu Yu crept closer, hesitating, thinking he must still be busy. Peeking in, she saw him asleep at the desk, his calm face stirring confusion in her heart. Yu wondered, was he truly exhausted, or just avoiding her? Her sword quietly appeared in hand, eyes turning cold. A single thought could wound him. She imagined him in pain, forever haunted by her image. Baijiao's voice whispered just in time, urging her to notice the item on the table. Yu looked down. Beneath Chang Sheng's hand lay a dual cultivation manual. Her mind reeled. Maybe he wasn't indifferent, but afraid his power might harm her unique body. The sword slipped from her grasp as she staggered back in shock. Yu clutched the book, realizing true love meant restraint, not possession. She gently hugged the book as if embracing him, heart aching for the silent endurance he bore. Baijiao stayed cautious, warning they couldn't jump to conclusions if his realm was truly low. But when her eyes fell on the manuscript on the desk, she froze in shock. Even as a draft, it radiated traces of a heaven-tier cultivation art in the making. Such writing was impossible for anyone ordinary or weak. Baijiao was both awed and puzzled. Why would someone so strong leave no defenses up? She stepped closer, intending to probe Chang Sheng's spiritual sea for confirmation. Yet an invisible backlash struck her, injuring her. Its divine pressure, a clear warning not to cross the line. At that moment, Chang Sheng stirred, softly calling Yu's name, making her blush. She burst into tears, hugging him tightly, apologizing for her doubts and promising to wait until both were ready. Chang Sheng gently agreed, saying he too would wait until the right time. Baijiao, watching beside them, slowly let go of suspicion, admitting he truly was an exceptional man. Time shifted to the next morning. Chang Sheng woke in confusion, realizing he was lying beside Yu, utterly clueless how that happened. She explained she'd only moved him to bed when he fell asleep, doing nothing improper. He didn't dare overthink, simply reassuring her softly. Then he rose, straightened his robe, and immediately checked last night's rewritten scripture. He knew even this incomplete draft could shake the empire if leaked. Inspecting each line carefully, he burned it with spirit fire, already planning how to conceal his power for the upcoming Dao debate. He dismissed any thought of using Yu or Ruoyan, determined to keep his Dao heart steady. Just then, a talisman flew in, forming a glowing projection. Xiao Wenning appeared, reporting that Holy Lord Wang Linhai of Tianqing and his saint disciple had arrived, summoning him to the Grand Hall. Chang Sheng frowned, sensing their early visit meant probing or trouble. In the Violet Gold Hall, Wang Qingfeng openly scorned Chang Sheng, showing zero interest in his lecture. Wang Linhai sternly rebuked his disciple, calling the early arrival discourteous despite the rare opportunity. Qingfeng, unafraid, burned to challenge Chang Sheng directly. Grand Elder Zhang Sunqing intervened, reminding Qingfeng to respect his senior. Qingfeng sneered, hinting that yesterday's heaven-tier phenomenon was tied to Chang Sheng, planting seeds of doubt. Wang Linhai hurriedly excused him, saying Tianqing arts often distorted emotions, begging forgiveness. Just then, guards announced Chang Sheng's arrival. The doors opened. Chang Sheng entered calmly, aura steady as drifting clouds. At first sight, Qingfeng's killing intent flared, demanding a duel. Chang Sheng groaned inwardly. Trouble found him the instant he appeared. Qingfeng studied him closely, heart racing under that deep, chilling gaze. A faint sword intent radiated from Chang Sheng, unsettling everyone nearby. Qingfeng began doubting if this was even the same Chang Sheng he'd once known. Chang Sheng greeted his master respectfully, relieved that Xiao Wenning was there to maintain order. The longer Qingfeng looked, the heavier the pressure felt, though their strength seemed equal. Wang Linhai casually suggested an early spar, but Chang Sheng calmly replied he had nothing worthy to teach. Wang Linhai clasped hands in praise, calling him the model genius of the young generation. Qingfeng was about to scoff but froze under his master's stern glare. Forced by pressure, Qingfeng bowed and followed, seething inside. Chang Sheng then proposed a strange condition that for today he be addressed only as senior brother too. Qingfeng grit his teeth, agreeing outwardly while secretly staying on guard. When the two were finally alone, Chang Sheng asked directly why Qingfeng had shown killing intent earlier. Qingfeng flared up, recalling how Chang Sheng had crushed him in battle last year, while Chang Sheng only chuckled it off. Feigning seniority, Chang Sheng preached cultivation morals, further annoying Qingfeng, who rudely interrupted. Chang Sheng reminded him of an old promise, making Qingfeng's face stiffen. Qingfeng instantly changed attitude, obediently using the proper title, as Chang Sheng suggested visiting Ruoyan. Qingfeng grew suspicious upon hearing the mention of two women's names. Chang Sheng calmly introduced Yu as his fiancée and Ruoyan as his disciple, driving Qingfeng into jealous madness. As he cursed the heavens in frustration, lightning suddenly struck down in response. Startled, Qingfeng froze while Chang Sheng's expression turned grave. He sensed the thunder anomaly came from Ruoyan's direction.